And Filmjet is back after a long time, but we are finally back. I'm glad to be back, and I want to make episodes more consistently. I really want to record weekly, but if I have to do it bi-weekly, then that's okay too. And today I'm going to talk about Black Adam, and that is going to lead me into the second topic I want to talk about, and I will mention that later. So I just watched the movie, and the first thing that comes to mind is the word generic. If that's just one way I could sum it up, that's it. There were some good things, some bad things, but all in all, there's really nothing special about this movie at all. So the good things were, I guess, every character had a cool costume, all their designs were cool. The way they showed their powers was pretty cool. There was some good bits of action. I liked Dr. Fate. Hawkman was pretty cool. All of the heroes were pretty cool. Atom Smasher and Cyclone. And that's one part of DC that I always liked is how they never really shied away from putting their more obscure characters in the spotlight. Nobody is really going to know who Atom Smasher is unless they're a comic reader or maybe they've watched some of the cartoons and they see some guy in there. Maybe they Googled who it was. So to see Atom Smasher, Cyclone, even Dr. Fate isn't really popular. So to see all of them was pretty cool. But other than that, I don't really think that it's worth watching this movie. And like I said, I don't think this movie is horrible. There's just nothing really special about it. The Rock is The Rock at this point. If you don't know who he is or haven't seen much of his movies, I don't really know what to tell you. He's kind of just gonna be The Rock, no matter what kind of movie it is. And I remember when the movie came out, and for a little bit after, he was getting a little bit of heat online for putting in all of his contracts that he can't lose fights and even putting down to the number of punches his characters can take and stuff like that. And I just think it's hilarious that him and there's even other actors that do this. People like that try to make themselves look tougher actually make themselves look more lame in real life. Because at the end of the day, it's a movie, it's a character. Nobody thinks that you're weak because your character got beat up in a movie. It's a movie, it's not real. Everything is choreographed and made up. It's just a character. Sometimes a character is not stronger than a certain character. If my character is Batman and he's going against Superman, no one expects him to be able to beat Superman in a straight up fist fight. No one thinks that a certain actor is weak because their character lost in a movie fight. Again, it's not real. So I thought that it was funny that people were pointing that out at this point because this is something that I've known for a long time, even going back to the Fast and Furious movies when he was in it, because Jason Statham was another one. And if you look at the fights in those movies, they always ended in a stalemate. It'll be like The Rock's character punches Jason Statham's character a few times and he'll punch him back a few times and no one ever really gets the upper hand and they always end at equal parts. And they always end with the two characters kind of looking like the fight didn't really end and they're just in their stands facing each other, but for some reason they just had to stop fighting. So yeah, in the moment, I guess it's a cool action scene, but there's not really a reason for it. It doesn't really do anything for the story. It's just like, oh, here's these two guys fighting, and no one actually wins the fight, but I guess it was cool to look at. So that's just funny. And to be fair, everybody else in this movie is not supposed to be stronger than Black Adam. So it's not like Black Adam was fighting a Kryptonian and whooping their behind the whole time. He was fighting Hawkman and Doctor Fate, Atom Smasher, and Cyclone. So I don't think any of those characters is supposed to be stronger than Black Adam because my understanding, well, Doctor Fate could be in a way, but it's with magic. It's not really just raw strength. And my understanding of it, is you had people like Superman and other Kryptonians, whether it's General Zod, Supergirl, whoever. You have Kryptonians, and then just below them is like Wonder Woman, Shazam, Black Adam, people like that. And then below that is people like Hawkman, probably Green Lantern, powerful characters like that. So it didn't really bother me that Black Adam never really got beat up by Hawkman. And to be fair, Hawkman didn't really get beat up either. I mean, he was losing the fights, but he never really got injured by Black Adam in the movie. So that's something to note. But again, the story was just pretty generic. You had the classic protagonists and other heroes fighting in the beginning, and then they end up having to work together to defeat a villain. We've seen that story a bunch of times, and I'm not saying that that's something that can never be done right, or if somebody wants to do it again in the future, that it'll be bad. But it's all about the execution, and in this movie, it just wasn't executed that well. Because, like I said, there were some good bits of action, but there wasn't anything that I rewatch or anything like that. I've seen way better action and fight choreography from movies that had way smaller budgets. So there's really no excuse there. And but Atom Smasher and Cyclone were pretty cool. They had a little cool dynamic going on being the younger heroes, and then Hawkman and Doctor Fate looked like they had a pretty good friendship being the two older heroes. And like I said, it's always nice to see those kind of people in a movie. I think it was interesting actually seeing Kondak. That's a part of DC that I don't think gets a lot of shine in media outside comics. So to see that was pretty cool. Like I said before, I liked all the outfits and the costumes. I think it was interesting how they didn't put eyes in Doctor Fate's helmet though. But I don't dislike that change at all, so it didn't really bother me. But some of the bad things were that there were some terrible looking CGI. I think that's just a common theme with a lot of these movies. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if they don't have enough time to actually polish what they're doing or if these studios aren't putting enough money. It can't be money because we all know these movies have huge budgets. So I don't understand why there's still bad CGI in these movies with humongous budgets. I just don't get it. They must not be giving these people enough time to actually work on it because it just doesn't make sense to me how you could be putting $200 million into something and there's still bad CGI. It makes no sense. We're talking about Warner Brothers, one of the biggest companies in the world. It's like them and Disney, who are the two biggest companies in the movie industry. So I just don't understand. And they did the anti-hero thing, but Black Adam, of course, ends up kind of becoming a hero at the end. I mean, I don't really get it because he says, I'm not a hero a bunch of times, but he ends up doing the heroic thing. But I guess because he kills the bad guys, he's still an anti hero. I don't know. But I'm like, at the same time, I'm like, well, these people are horrible. They literally took over an entire country and are oppressing people. So it's not like these are street level criminals. These are people with advanced tech and weapons that are willing to take over an entire country. To me, that's just like a military action. That isn't even, oh, heroes and villains. That's just, if you take back your country and your land, you might have to kill a few people. I don't think that makes you not a hero or something. I get it. You know, if you're Justice League, Superman probably wouldn't have killed those people, but I don't know. Everybody is a Superman. I think somebody like the Punisher is a better version of an anti-hero, but that's a little off topic. Or even somebody like Deadpool or Deathstroke. I mean, Deathstroke is always shown as really a villain anyway, but any but yeah, like they say he's an anti-hero, but he doesn't really do anything that evil. I don't know. I've seen superheroes in movies kill a lot more people or do worse, and nobody better than I. So I don't know. What do I know? And I just think it's funny how this movie was supposed to change the hierarchy in the DC universe, and it ended up being a flop. And basically, the old DC universe started with Man of Steel is going nowhere, and all The Rock was talking about was how Black Adam was going to fight Superman, and none of that is going to happen. And they even got Henry Cavill back to do the post credit scene cameo. So I just hope that DC can get it together. We know that James Gunn has taken over now and he's doing a Superman movie, and we're kind of just waiting for the Flash movie to come out and reset everything. So I don't know. This movie is just kind of a dud to me. I don't even really know why I watched it. I guess I was just bored today. But again, words I would use to describe this movie are generic, trite, mediocre, stuff like that. There's really nothing special about it at all. And this leads me into my next topic, which I mentioned at the beginning, and that is superhero fatigue. I am really feeling superhero fatigue. I don't think I'm going to be watching any superhero movie for the foreseeable future. Well, I will be watching Spider-Verse 2 and the Batman 2, which doesn't come out for another year at least. But as far as really being invested in the MCU and whatever DC is doing, I don't know, man. I just think there's so many movies and TV shows that are coming out that, number one, there's not really enough time if you have any other kind of hobby or life to be watching all this stuff. And two, I just don't think that most of these movies and TV shows are good enough to be invested. When the MCU started doing all of these TV shows back in 2020, I watched all of them. I watched The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I watched Loki. I watched Moon Knight, but I just fell off. I stopped going to see all the movies in the theaters. I did go see Black Panther 2. I did go see Doctor Strange 2, but I did not watch Ms. Marvel. I don't know if I'm going to watch Daredevil Born Again. I don't care how many cast members they bring back. I just don't trust Disney to do the right thing because I saw Hawkeye. Hawkeye was garbage. And what they did to Kingpin in that show should be a crime. So I am really skeptical about Daredevil Born Again. I don't want to see the Marvels movie, Captain Marvel 2. The only Marvel movie that I think I'll go see in the future is Deadpool 3 whenever that comes out. Maybe Fantastic Four just to see, but there's not really any information about that. We don't even know who cast members are or anything like that. So I don't know how I'm going to feel about that until more information comes out. But that's just more to see what they do with the Fantastic Four in the MCU. Because everything that we know is coming is not moving me at all. I don't care about the Echo show, and I don't care about Loki season 2. And I thought Loki was fine, but after all of these flops, I just don't care. I didn't see Ant-Man 3. There's so many things coming out that I can't even remember them all. I don't know if I'm even going to watch Blue Beetle. I might watch Blue Beetle if it goes on HBO Max or Max, whatever it's going to be called. So, again, I'm just feeling very bored, tired, and worn out by all these superhero movies and TV shows. If they're not going to be good, I really don't feel like spending all of this time watching them. And I think one of the nails in the coffin was Moon Knight. Moon Knight was kind of a disappointment. I was very excited for Moon Knight to finally be getting a TV show or anything that's a character that I've known about for a very long time. And I've always wanted to see him in cartoons, a movie, TV, something. He did appear in a few cartoons, but it was nothing memorable. So for him to finally get a TV show was really exciting to me. And when the show came out, I just didn't really like it that much. I mean, it's fine, but it's nothing special. I need to say something special. There's too many good things coming out nowadays for me to waste time on mediocrity. I cannot spend my entire day staring at a TV. So when I do, I need it to be something great. And big franchises are capable of this. We just saw Andor come out in 2022, and that's one of the best shows of the year. And this is Star Wars we're talking about. And Star Wars has had its duds recently, but Andor was not one of them. To me, Andor is probably the best piece of Star Wars objectively since the original trilogy. I love the prequels, but they are flawed. I love the Clone Wars, but it's flawed. Andor is just on a different level when you're talking about writing, visuals, acting. None of these MCU shows compare at all. They're all cheesy, corny, generic. I just don't understand how you can sit there and go from Falcon and the Winter Soldier to WandaVision to Loki, Moon Knight, Ms. Marvel, etc., and then go to Andor and not want to stay over there with Andor. I can't watch something like that and then go back to mediocrity. I just can't do it. And even shows outside of big franchises like The Bear and other things that I'm watching, like We Own This City on HBO, a great miniseries. Dope Sick, another great miniseries. I watched Banana Fish, a pretty recent anime that was amazing. So there's just so much material coming out that's more interesting, better made, with way better stories, and more engaging than what Marvel and DC are doing. And it's sad for me to say because I really love superheroes. Superheroes are the reason why I started watching a lot of movies in the first place. I remember when the MCU started and I was excited to go to the movies every time an MCU movie came out. And even though all of them weren't good, it was still special. And I think part of that was that back then, back in 2008, 9, 10, 11, this stuff was still new. Superhero movies were just moving past the cheesy stage. I think Batman 1989 was the first like really good superhero movie, and then Spider-Man was the first one that had a whole lot of like CGI and effects that wasn't terrible. So Spider-Man was like when they really started to get good to me. And then when the MCU kicked off in 2008, it was very special, like I said. And back then there wasn't three movies and three TV shows coming out every year. So to me, that really dulls the experience. I think there's just way too many coming out now. And Marvel did admit this. They even said that they're going to slow down on the shows coming out. Because let's be honest, we don't need a show coming out every month. That's just ridiculous. You can't even hire people to write all this stuff fast enough. And that's why I think this stuff ends up being bad. They're trying to put out too much too quick. If you think about anything special or important, there's less volume. I think studios are always trying to find that balance between trying to maximize profits, but also not putting out too much stuff at the same time. But I think a lot of times they just put out nonsense if it makes them money. So I think they should find that balance because, like I said, when you're putting out all this stuff, the casual fan is not going to watch all of it. My mother and father are not going to watch all of this. Maybe crazy people that have all the time in the world and they're constantly looking at Twitter for the newest updates and stuff like that are going to watch. But at the end of the day, Disney, Warner Brothers are looking for the big audience. The average person is not going to watch all of these shows. So they really need to pull back. And like I said, Marvel admitted this. And like I said, if you look at anything important, anything special, there's going to be less volume. You think about clothes, houses, cars, anything, even people. Let's be honest. Average is average for a reason because most people are average. And then there's a few special people that can do something that everybody else can't. That's why they're special. There's not that many of them. Same thing, houses. Same thing with cars, clothes. Things that people want and will pay a lot of money for are usually hard to come by. Supply and demand. This is just common knowledge. There's a reason why every other person is driving a Honda Civic because they're cheap and there's a ton of them. Everybody can't afford a Ferrari. They are very expensive. There's also not that many of them relative to other cars. So I just wish that mainly Disney and Warner Brothers would take this approach with their superhero movies because having three movies a year, three shows is just way too much. I did not watch Ant-Man 3. It just didn't look appealing to me. And I don't know if I'm going to watch Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I really don't. Maybe eventually, maybe a few years from now on Disney Plus, but I just don't care about going to see that movie in the theaters at all. Because again, I mentioned some good shows that I watched recently. Listen, I watched Coraline a few days ago, which I know I'm late. I finally watched Coraline. I watched Jujutsu Kaisen Zero. I watched Total Recall, Mad Max 2, Edge of Tomorrow. These are all great original movies that to me are better than pretty much everything I've seen from the MCU lately. Because I'm going to be honest, I don't care how many cameos you put in a movie, it doesn't make the movie better. All of that is just a marketing tool to say, oh, well, we put this character in a movie, so you should go see it. But if the movie isn't good, I'm not gonna waste 2 hours of my life watching it. So I guess I say all that to say I just want Marvel and DC to do better because I really love the worlds that they have built over the decades, and I really hope that they can get their cinematic universes together. And honestly, sometimes I feel like they shouldn't even do cinematic universes because sometimes a one off movie is better. When something doesn't have to play by rules of a universe, you give the creators more freedom, and oftentimes that makes for a better movie. Because whenever you're dealing with universe, and especially with the MCU, that really did a great job with continuity, but it also cripples the creators because now they can't kill a certain character. They can't use a certain character in this movie because it wouldn't make sense because of what happened 3 movies ago and stuff like that. So I would like to see a lot more one-off movies or even like a trilogy that isn't connected to anything else, like we're seeing with the Batman and Joker from DC. And I just think it would give the creators more freedom, like I said. I would like to see a movie or a TV show with the Question. I think that's a character that has a lot of potential. And you don't have to have a whole bunch of other superheroes showing up and stuff like that. Um, we have the Flash coming out, and I don't really know what to think about that movie. From the trailers, it actually looks okay, but they're just advertising all the cameos in it, and that worries me because they're basically saying, "Oh, Supergirl's in it. Oh, we brought back Michael Keaton and Ben Affleck, so you should come see this movie." And whenever you tell me you should go see a movie just because a certain person is in it, that tells me that you're not really confident in the movie itself. So I don't really know, man. But again, I'll probably watch Deadpool 3. I'm definitely going to watch Spider-Verse 2. We haven't gotten any information about Spider-Man freshman year, the animated show that's supposed to be coming out in the future. And on a good note, Hitmonkey is getting a season 2. So you know that I'm going to be watching that. I really love season one, and we even did an episode on that a long time ago. So there is still good things coming out of Marvel and DC. Um, we know that Batman: The Cape Crusader is coming out soon, another animated show. So, and I'm really excited about the animated stuff because those actually do interesting things visually, and they seem to not be bogged down by the studios as much. And that's a good and a bad thing because they also don't show them the same level of support, but they also don't meddle with them as much. So I think often we get a better product from the animated stuff, but like I said, they don't support it. So a lot of times you see shows getting canceled too early, or they don't want to give it enough money to truly help it flourish. And speaking of animated, I'd rather see more What If from Marvel. I want to see What If season two. So yeah, that is part of the MCU, but it's something that's overlooked by a lot of people. I don't think a lot of the average people are watching What If, even though I enjoy What If. Some episodes were good, some were not as good, but the visual style was really good to me, and I would like to see more. So, yep, on a positive note, those are the things that I'm kind of looking forward to in the superhero world. And look out for more episodes of Filmjet. We're back recording. There's some stuff I want to talk about. I don't really know what I'm going to talk about next. Maybe I'll do We Own This City or Dope Sick, but we'll see. It'll probably be a TV show. Maybe I'll do something on an anime. I am in the middle of watching Eon Flux right now, so maybe I'll do something about that. Vinland Saga is running. The Bad Batch season 2 just ended, so maybe I will do that. These are all options. So just be on the lookout for what we have coming next. It's good to be back. And like I said before, I hope to be more consistent. I really don't like taking these long breaks because I really like recording. I like watching all these movies and I like talking about them. So, again, be on the lookout and we'll see you next time.